Hello everyone, I'm Rad Cyborg Alien, and today what's going to happen is we're going to have a little reading of the novel Willow. If you've only seen the movie, I highly suggest reading the book, because I read it and it's pretty damn good. I had seen the movie many times and I've loved it, and I didn't even know there was a book, and I never even thought of there being a book for some reason. I just never even dreamed of it. And when I found out that there was a novel and saw that it got a bunch of good ratings, I knew that I had to read it because I'm a huge fan of the movie. And we're going to read a little bit because of obvious reasons. I don't want Mickey Mouse to come and take me away, or George Lucas, whatever. I'm only going to read just a little bit. And if you guys like it, then I highly recommend you go out and buy it somehow, even though I think it's out of print. So that would mean buying a used copy or a brand new copy for like $1,000. But anyway, I got a used copy on eBay. It is a very fantastic, marvelous book. I paid like under $10 for it, so it was really, really good. Now, I'm also doing this as a celebration because January 29th, the 30th anniversary of Willow will be coming back to Blu-ray. Yes, the movies came to Blu-ray before, but that went out of print. I didn't get a chance to get it, and then it turned into like $50 and shit used. And so I kind of missed out, and I was really, interesting story, I was willing to pay 30, 40, 50 bucks for a used copy of Willow on Blu-ray because I love it that much. And I was on the threshold of buying it. And then all of a sudden I checked Blu-ray.com and everyone was talking about how it was coming back out 2019, January 29th. And I was like, kick ass, I'm going to wait for that re-release. And it's the 30th anniversary. So without wasting any more time, let's celebrate Willow the movie, the 30th anniversary, and take a little bit of look at the book. I dedicate this video to PewDiePie, who taught me how to read at the age of 10. Thank you, Poods. This is Willow, a novel by Wayland Drew, based on a screenplay by Bob Dolman, from a story by, of course, George Lucas. Now, the movie came out in 1988, and so did the novel. But I think the novel actually came out just a few months before the movie. And the novel, if you like the movie, I cannot stress how awesome the novel is. I wish they would actually re-release the novel for fans of 2019 and give it a 30th anniversary release too. But of course that's up to Mickey Mouse and George Lucas and Darth Vader. Alright, we are going to read a little bit of chapter 1, entitled Nockmaar. How beautiful were the death dogs! How powerful their shoulders, and how elegant the curves of their hairless tails! How gracefully they moved beside their handlers through the drifting mists and smoke of Nockmaar. From the high balcony of the conjuring room, each man and dog looked to the queen like a single creature, her creature. The man in his leather armor, black as the beast's skin, the dog tensed for command, its shoulder touching the man's thigh. Bavmorda smiled down upon them. She drew her cloak tight against the chill of morning. She waited. They were practicing the kill. A few prisoners had been brought up from the dungeons, and they huddled together behind a buttress where the dogs could not see them. Across the courtyard, a sallyport swung open, and a footbridge dropped over the moat. Through that gate, the prisoners could see the slate hills of Nockmaar Valley, they could imagine the freedom beyond. The captain of the guard looked up and saluted. Bavmorda nodded. Each prisoner was told to run. One by one, with whatever energy and hope remained, they dashed for the gate, for those hills. One by one, the death dogs slipped their leashes, streaked through the courtyard, and leaped at the prisoners' throats. No one reached the gate. Bavmorda smiled. When the spectacle was over, she swept away, striding around the balcony of the morning inspection of her domain. All the mountains to the west were hers, far beyond the valley of Tir Aslin. To the north, the billowing volcano of Nockmaar lay under her command. To the east, she controlled even the sun itself. For had she not moments ago uttered an invocation in the conjuring room, and was not the sun rising obediently? Only the south lay beyond her control. Only the south. Bavmorda scowled, thrusting her arms into her sleeves. There it lay, that soft land, stretching 100 leagues under its mocking coverlet of mist. And there at that moment came a bitter reminder of what Bavmorda feared most. A score of carts, guarded by death dogs and mounted troops, wound out of the southern hills and approached the walls of Nockmaar. The monthly gathering was coming in. Bavmorda nodded in sour satisfaction. Kale was punctual as always. On the first night of the waning moon, the gathering began. Kale's troops and Kale's death dogs fanned out from Nockmaar Castle to seize all women pregnant beyond the 6th month. From all the southern fiefdoms they brought them, from the sea folk to the east, from the fen people, where the vast marshes drained through labyrinthine creeks into the tributaries of the river Troon. From the mountains south of Tir Aslin they brought them, and from the farmlands of Galadurn, and sometimes even from the wild reaches across the river Freen. Occasionally, Kale's troops brought even little Nelwyn women to the birthing rooms to vent their small groans and bear their small offering. Not often, however. Nelwyn women usually perished on the journey. Bah! Bavmorda flung her arm in sudden disgust at the little column. 5 bolts of lightning stabbed low above the wagons, leaving 5 smoking craters in the slate hills. Terrified horses bolted, spilling the pathetic human contents of the carts. Death dogs snarled and circled. Women screamed. Troopers cursed and lashed out to cover their sudden fear. Bavmorda whirled away, pulling her gown close around her. How sick and tired she was of birth, birth, birth! Death was so much cleaner, so much more predictable, controllable. How she hated these heavy women with their dumb animal love. Love of husbands, of infants, of life itself. They were like a sea, an endless breathing body rising from the south and threatening to engulf her. And somewhere in that body was the seed of a child whose birth caused a needle of dread to pierce Bavmorda's heart. How she hated that child! Ground, glubla. I am a cyborg. I have glitches. I apologize. Gown sweeping. She stalked back into her conjuring chamber. She glanced at the night herons, hunched. See, I was just doing a Monty Python voice for a second. She glanced at the... Sorry. Where was I? She glanced at the night herons and the wraiths and the sloths and the... hunched ready to do her bidding. She glowered at the trolls and serving minions, who bowed away and busied themselves with pointless tasks. She scowled at the 3 druid priests, who tugged their grey beards and bobbed their grey heads and rubbed their gnarled hands, murmuring placations. She stared in all directions through the slits of the tower, out over the bleak crags of Nockmaar. Why? She demanded, flinging out her hands. 10 fireballs slammed against the walls. The druids ducked. 1 bolt streaked through a window slit straight at the full moon in the west, as if to strike it from the sky. 1 grazed the leg of a cowering server, and the others hastily dragged him down the stairs, so the queen would not be troubled by his shrieks. Cleaner trolls scrubbed up behind them, grunting. 2 other bolts spawned mutant horrors, an albino toad, eyeless and legless, wiggling through shredding skin, a sack of eyes rolling in milky fluid. Why? Bavmorda turned on the 3 pale druids in their priestly robes. They knew well what she was asking. She was asking why she, Bavmorda, sovereign of Nockmaar, sorceress, magnificent, primal priestess of cults and covens, should be subject to such a niggling, uncertain human thing as fear. In particular, why should she be humiliated by the fear of a child? The priests knew many answers. They could have reminded the queen that she was mortal, and therefore the victim of uncertainties. They could have said that not even Bavmorda's sorcery was more powerful than the laughter of a child. Or they could have observed that her will had long ago been bent by cruelty and greed into an evil thing. All of these were true. But they could not speak the truth, or any part of it. To have done so when Bavmorda was bristling with rage would have condemned them as they had seen other truth-tellers condemned. Truth-tellers got torn apart on the spot. Even while they were speaking, death dogs ate their livers. Muttering trolls mopped up their remains. These priests were not truth-tellers. They were survivors. The first spread soothing arms and smiled. Your Majesty, it is only because the world is jealous of your power. Soon our rights will wipe away that jealousy, and your Majesty shall have peace thereafter. The second nodded agreement. With respect, your Majesty, no great work was ever quickly accomplished. Quite so, your Majesty, the third bowed deeply. Also, so long as some wildness remains there, he gestured to the south, beyond your Majesty's enlightened reign, some minor temporary irregularities are inevitable. Soon General Kale will certainly give you control of Galadun and all that land. He straightened up, radiating confidence from his outstretched arms. Bavmorda gazed balefully at the 3 of them. The moment of greatest danger had passed. They would not be ripped apart by fireballs. They would not be shredded by bodiless teeth. Their bones would not be smashed by invisible jaws. They had survived again, for now. See, none of this was in the damn movie, in the beginning. Not that I remember. Can't wait to watch it again. Also, the third priest said, unctuously. "We share the certainty that your Majesty has the mother even now within her power, and that her labor will deliver this child into your Majesty's hands." Bavmorda laughed. "Yes, I feel it here." She clutched her belly. Her laughter was a terrible thing. Like a frenzied bird, loosed, it filled the chamber, shrieking and tearing at the walls. The night herons hunkered on their perches and gazed at the flagstones, longing to be far away, where ghostly fishes moved through the cool fens of the troon. By the way, I looked up the word fens because I didn't even know what it was, and it's an old English word that means like a marshland or a swamp. So that is a fen, my great and wonderful audience. I like the word fen. Pale as ash, the three druids showed their teeth. "We are certain, your Majesty. Our tests confirm that the woman is in the birthing room." Again the vision. "Conjure it. Conjure the vision." They bobbed obediently. Counterclockwise around a great stone crucible in the room's center, they began a shuffling dance, kicking aside bones and fleshy refuse. Bavmorda watched with her cloak folded tightly about her like a cocoon. In unison they uttered their chant for the unfolding, adding those codicils for the vision the queen required. Their voices quavered. All other conjurings predicted Bavmorda triumphant, omnipotent, immortal. Only this, which they had chanced upon by accident through a flawed chant, foresaw her doom. In it, Fin Raziel appeared. Fin Raziel, Bavmorda's old enemy, who had thwarted so many of the queen's early schemes. She appeared as if alive in this vision, as if Bavmorda had not long since vanquished her. The vision formed, the druids fell back. Bavmorda approached the crucible. It had filled with milky fluid, and in it shone the face of Fin Raziel as she had been those many years ago, still beautiful, still radiant. Out of the bowl came the ghostly echo of Fin Raziel's voice. "You may defeat me, but you will not defeat the child, Bavmorda. The mystery of the child is larger than you, and in that mystery your reign will end. Here is the sign, Bavmorda." Fin Raziel's face faded, and the milky fluid formed into a shimmering circle that Bavmorda knew too well. Eyes blazing, the queen leaned close to that hateful mark. Her cloak parted. Her bony arms emerged. Priests, night herons, and trolls all scrambled for cover. They fled unto the balcony, down the spiral stairs, behind the pillars of the chamber. Lightning and fireballs crackled off Bavmorda's fingers and slammed into the bowl, ricocheting in all directions. The opaque fluid swirled into foul steam. When the bowl had been seared clean, the mistress of Nockmaar raised her arms and uttered a sound even more terrible than her laughter, a long wail of hollow triumph. She knew, and all who heard her knew, that no matter how often she might blast that vision, it could always be conjured again, for its essence lay beyond her power. A wet snuffling came from the top of the stairs. "Your Majesty," Bavmorda whirled, pointing long nails. "You dare intrude!" "Mercy, your Majesty! Don't burn, don't kill! The Princess Sorsha commands me." A dungeon troll grovelled there, half on the floor, half on the top steps. Rank hair covered his scalp to the eyebrows. He was noseless. He slobbered through swollen orange lips. Long toes and fingers slapped wetly on the flagstones. His eyes flickered, shifted malignantly. He bore with him the stench of the dungeons and of death. "Speak!" "Saoirse, your majesty," he pointed down the steps. "She bids you come. Out of the way!" Her lips curled in disgust. The hem of her gown raised high. Bavmorda swept past him and descended. Behind her, 2 tower trolls seized the interloper by the ankles and dragged him downstairs. 2 others wiped up the puddle of slime he had deposited. The priests held a whispered conference. "If it is the child," the first said, his eyes sharp with fear, "you know what powers protect it." "We should flee," the second hissed. "We should escape." "Fools," the third said. "Where will you hide?" "Do as you've been told. Begin the ritual." That's all for now. Thank you for listening. Willow the novel, highly recommend it. Are you going to pick up the Blu-ray, the 30th anniversary when it comes out? I definitely will be. Willow on Blu-ray, 30th anniversary, Willow the novel, celebration of Willow, its 30th anniversary, all the way back from 1988. Thank you everybody for listening. I'm Rad
Cyborg Alien,
and this has been a reading. If you want to do something fly, fire up that like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.